Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Southpaw, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Forrest Whitaker, Naomi Harris, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, Una Lawrence, Skyland Brooks, Bo Knapp, Victor Ortiz, Rita Ora, and Rachel McAdams, directed by Antoine Fuqua. Now, I remember being pleasantly surprised with this one for an Antoine Fuqua film, because I haven't liked too many of his films, so let's see if this is an improvement. Let's get into it. Billy Hope, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, gets prepared for a fight in the boxing business against Jones, in Madison Square Garden, along with his wife Maureen, played by Rachel McAdams, entering the picture, and his manager Jordan Maines, played by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, leaving the area. And as the fight goes on, Billy is getting punched in the face and is bleeding all over the place and takes a quick break, and as it's all over, Billy knocks his ass out. And I really do like boxing movies, as I really like this scene for how brutal the sport is, and this opening scene is intense. At a press conference, Billy is tempted to fight Miguel Magic Escobar after crashing the press conference the same way Clubber Lang challenged Rocky to fight him in part 3, where he threatens Maureen about being with a real man, which doesn't scare me but by any means. While their daughter Layla, played by Una Lawrence, comes in, and I do like them as a family, but they're mediocre characters at best. Maureen tells them to not fight anyone anymore. Because it fucking scares her, and have an argument about telling him to retire. And I felt bad for the characters, as this movie can be effective in that way. Billy bleeds the next morning from the fight the night before, as he wakes up and Jordan visits the house while talking with Maureen about his future, while Billy hangs out with Layla while helping her with her homework as he goes to charity and gives kind of a terrible speech, I'll say. And what ends up happening is Miguel goes up to Billy and threatens his life, and some idiot pulls out a gun and accidentally shoots Maureen and gets her killed, as I felt sorry for Billy, as I felt affected by that scene. While the cinematography was pretty good, but not the greatest I've seen, but I like how this movie looks for that reason alone. Billy buries Maureen while Layla going home not by Billy's side, as he's too depressed while screaming in his bed set and wants to deal with Miguel by shooting this motherfucker up, as he goes to Hector's apartment as he sees a woman and she points out she has kids, and his bank manager tells him half of his money is gone, and Jordan tries to get him back to fighting, but he chooses to sign the papers and fight someone that's not Miguel, as that guy wins. And Miguel watches him fight as he sits next to Jordan, and I thought, what the fuck was he thinking sitting next to the guy that got his wife killed in the first place? I think he's going to betray Billy, as it's kind of obvious, while he's suspended from boxing and telling him to sell his house. And he walks out, and the movie works well at the boxing business, just like the original Rocky did back in the 1970s. Billy crashes the car and comes home wiped out, and he's taken to the hospital and to court, and he can't see his daughter for 30 days until he gets his anger management therapy, while Layla goes to a foster home for the next 30 days, and Billy has no house, property, things. And can I confess, I felt sad for Billy, as I felt heartbreak, and this movie does a good job at making me care for the protagonist. Billy goes to the gym to train slowly with Willis, played by Forrest Whitaker, and he's someone I'm actually a fan of, and I really like seeing him in this movie, as he's talking with Billy to be more professional, and the dialogue works tremendously well in this movie, as he asks for a job, and all Tick can offer is cleaning business, and declines at first, but he'll take the job, and I like how this movie grows on me. Billy stops by an office and meets with Angela Rivera, played by Naomi Harris, and he sees Layla is upset with him, as she said he fucked up and doesn't know if he's her father anymore, and Billy decides to take the job as a janitor at Tick's gym, and he meets Hoppy, played by Skyland Brooks, as a rabbit, and helps train him, which was very inspiring. Billy learns Layla doesn't want to see him as he goes to a bar to follow Tick and chats with him until Tick keeps asking him why he confesses why he wants to train desperately. And I believe every word coming from the Jake Gyllenhaal character saying it, as it comes off very believable. And I like the relationship between Billy and Tick, as it's good stuff. Tick trains Billy to be twice as fast and not to use anger but heart, and I admire that about the movie. Billy needs to improve on his anger management as he works on being a better father, while Billy offered another charity work for the boxing business, while Layla wants to lead the family services. And Billy tells her he's fighting again and she wants to be there to support him, but she can't get out of family services as he is trying, and she smacks him. And I felt heartbroken for Billy as she says, "I hate you." He performs at the charity and he wins by using his heart, and this does feel like a Rocky story, but more depressing. Jordan came to see Billy to take back his championship against Miguel in Las Vegas 6 weeks from now for his championship title, and Tick doesn't want anything to do with it as he leaves Billy behind, and Tick learns Hoppy died, while protecting his mother from his father as his father shot him. And I still felt heartbreak from both Billy and Tick joins Billy's side, being at the Las Vegas Championship. Billy improves on his anger management classes, and Layla visits him, and she wants to talk to him and asks if they could see her in this, and by her I mean Maureen, at the cemetery. And they do, and she demands to go to one of his fights, and he accepts and they train with a montage that is pretty good, but not as great as the first Rocky movie. We get to Caesar's Palace in Vegas at the fight between Billy and Miguel, and Layla and Angela by his side on the TV. And as the fight begins with Miguel getting all the punches with Tick is there, and we get to round 3, and Billy and Miguel go back and forth with each other and gets knocked down for a second, and he hurts him, but he gets back up and fights some more, and Miguel keeps hitting him in the fucking eye like it's his weakness, and Tick wants to see Billy the Great, that's what it's called. As we get to the final round, and Billy uses the techniques he learned from Tick, but still is getting hurt like crazy. And Billy finally punches him and wins the fight by knocking his ass out, but Miguel gets back up as it was a split decision. And who wins? Billy successfully did, and tries to give it to Tick, and he accepts it. And Layla comes to him, and this climax was beautiful. Hard to watch, but absolutely beautiful. Now it's time for my rating. I'll give this movie a 6.7 out of 10. Because this is a boxing movie, as I'm a fan, which is a genre I'm a fan of thanks to the original Rocky, but these characters are mediocre, as I didn't mind them, as this may be the third best of Antoine Fuqua's films, and there were times I felt bad for Billy as well as the other characters in a way that is effective. The cinematography looks good, but not the greatest, but I like how this movie looks, as it does a fine job at making the boxing business look just like the original Rocky did back in the 1970s. And I admire that about the movie. I felt total pain for the protagonist, as this movie does a great job at making me feel, or a good job I'll say, at making me feel really bad, as it's a sad movie for damn sure, as I felt heartbreak for the characters. So it's a recommendation if you're a boxing fan like myself. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with his remake of The Magnificent Seven. And until then, da 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 da.